What's going on, guys? Ronan here. I know it's been a while, but I just got back from vacation and I'm starting to shoot the next set of videos for my channel. I want to appreciate you guys for giving me the support while I was out. But anyway, let's get into a couple things for today's episode. I know that today's episode took a while. It's been about 6 months since the last part, and I'm sorry for that, but I need you guys to understand something. When you're writing two regions at the same time that are the same region, it's kind of hard to make sure you don't blur the lines between the two because you want the stories to be so different. So I'm trying to finish up What If Ash Was Born in Unova before I continue any major work on this one. But I do have some notes for the next part, so it may not be as long in between these parts. Also, I want to give special thanks to Ranger Rye over at the Ranger Base. He's the one who edited this video while I was on vacation, so you should head over to his channel and check him out. I'd like to get him to 1,000 subscribers because he really does do a lot in the background to help out the Pokemon community that a lot of you don't know about. So please head on over and check out his content. I'm sure he'll appreciate it, and while you're there, subscribe. But anyway, let's get into part 10 of What If Ash and Paul Travel to Unova. I hope you enjoy. Today, we pick back up in Chargestone Cave. Paul and Giovanni are squaring off as the explosions ring throughout the area. Boy, you have some gall if you think I would battle you in a place like this. Are you scared, old man? Paul taunts Giovanni. I thought you were Kanto's most powerful trainer. Here, I'll even give you the advantage. My Electivire against your Dugtrio and Golem. Giovanni thinks that Paul isn't quite right, turning to leave, telling his Pokemon to follow. A bolt of lightning then streaks across his path, inches from his face. Did we say you could go? Paul says. The next one won't miss. I see you're not one for a reason, especially when you have your mind set to something. Fine, I, Giovanni, leader of Team Rocket, accept your challenge. With the stipulation you set forth, my two Pokemon against your one. Paul and Electivire both smirk. This is the one challenge that's always eluded Paul, and there's no way he will let it get away here. Over with Ash and Iris, the two are fighting their way through the cave. The explosions are inching closer and closer as the duo fight their way through. By now, the grunts from both Team Plasma and Rocket have dissipated. Now, it's just Ash, Pikachu, Iris, and Axew. They are having trouble finding their way through the cave, disoriented from all the explosions. Iris can feel something though. There is a disturbance. It's in the flow of energy in the cave. The explosions are killing the environment. This revelation has Iris in a petrified state. She's not moving or responding to her friends. The blasts are getting closer and closer, and with nothing left to do, Ash orders Pikachu to use a Thunderbolt on Iris to snap her out of her trance. With Iris coming back, Pikachu recognizes something, a feeling. It's the battle between Paul and Giovanni, running down a corridor with Ash and the group in tow. Ash hoping that this will lead to Paul. Over with Paul and the Rocket Leader, the battle is in full swing. Though Electivire is outnumbered and at a type disadvantage, the Thunder Goliath is holding its own. So much so that Giovanni even compliments Paul on the conditioning of his Pokemon. Paul sees this as an attempt to distract him, telling Giovanni to focus on the battle, or he will lose. Finding amusement at this statement, Giovanni decides to honor this request. Yelling to Golem and Dugtrio, the two suddenly pick up speed and attacks. In a flash, Electivire goes from holding its own to being overwhelmed. The Electivire blocks one attack just to get hit with another. Golem and Dugtrio are pretty fierce with their combo attacks. They are very well timed, and the pressure that Paul and Electivire are now facing isn't one that Paul thought they would. Fortunately, due to the conditioning of Electivire, its endurance is allowing it to handle most of the onslaught. But this will only last for so long, as Electivire is starting to falter. Paul can see this and pushes Electivire further, ordering a Brick Break after Brick Break. This does manage to take out Dugtrio, but now Electivire is exhausted, breathing heavily. Giovanni recalls his Dugtrio, commending Paul on his Electivire's abilities. Realizing that time has run out, and Giovanni, being the businessman that he is, he decides that this could be the opportunity for a deal that could benefit both of them. Oh, I'm listening, Paul says. While these two begin to talk, Ash and Iris arrive at a ledge above the battle. They begin to call for Paul, but are quickly silenced when they hear the conversation between the two. Giovanni recognizes the skill of Paul, telling him that his power is one that should work for Team Rocket, offering him a position in the criminal organization. Paul is silent to this offer at first, almost like he's considering it. Ash wants to speak up, but is quickly silenced by Iris. Just wait, she says. Have faith in Paul, as they look on. Paul just smirks. So let me get this straight. You, the all-powerful elder of Team Rocket, is offering little old me a position in your illustrious organization? Giovanni thinks he's got Paul to come around to his way of thinking, and he begins to speak. Well, yes, it's a privilege I rarely, but is cut off by laughter. Well, you really are full of yourself. You seriously think I would work for someone who is weaker than me as a trainer? Weaker? Giovanni questions, offended by Paul's disrespect of his offer. I will show you who is weaker, boy, as Giovanni calls on 2 more of his trademark Pokemon, Persian and Rhydon. You won't be leaving this cave. Paul just smiles. Electivire. He thinks he can still win. With the surge of electricity, Electivire roars, sparking everything around them. Paul and his Oni are finally back on the same page. For the first time in a long time. This was the catalyst needed, as a strange aura of light and electricity begins to spark from Paul's bag. Then, the white orb in Ash's bag begins to resonate with it as well, pulsating with Paul's bag. Both trainers reach into the bag at the same time and pull out their respective orbs. Both Iris and Ash look on as they become aware that Paul is in possession of the black orb. Wait, is that? Iris thinks to herself. But her thoughts are immediately interrupted by Paul. So, you've responded to me, have you? Electivire, if I'm correct, this is the same power that Ash and Infernape have. What do you say we give it a try? With a cry from Electivire and a surge of lightning, Paul throws the orb in the air. A blinding light envelops the area as a mix of cries are heard coming from it. With the flash of light, what stands before them is a hulking behemoth, surging in electricity. The force of its presence echoes throughout the cave. Ash looks on from above. Paul and Electivire. They became one, he thinks. Paul then addresses Giovanni. You want what you don't have, and when you can't take it, you bargain with it, so it's no longer an obstacle. You're pathetic, Paul says. This angers Giovanni. Without hesitation, he orders his remaining Mons to attack, holding nothing back. But Electivire nor Paul flinch. With a simple order of a brick break, Electivire unleashes its new power, sending Golem into the wall of the cave, catching Rhydon in the process. A stunned Giovanni looks on, his best Pokemon gone in an instant. Paul hangs his head. Pathetic, he mutters once again. I was hoping for a challenge. The explosions are at the heels of everyone. Realizing they can no longer stay hidden, Ash and Iris rush to join Paul, revealing they've seen Electivire's newly transformed state. But they have no time for questions. Meanwhile, Giovanni is snapped back to reality by a familiar voice on the radio. It's Jesse, James, and Meowth, urging the boss to get out, as the explosions envelop the area. The Rocket Master looks on at Paul and Ash. Their interference won't go unpunished as he fades into the darkness. Now our heroes have a problem. They are surrounded by explosions, but as they start to lose hope, Electivire begins to glow, surrounding the group in a barrier of electrical energy, saving them from the blasts. Once the scene calms, the barrier fades. The sight that lay before our heroes is one of pure devastation, but what they see isn't even half of it. The energy of this place. It's fading away, Iris says, as they watch the electric rocks begin to lose their glow, falling to the floor. What's going on? Ash questions. This place is dying, Paul answers. What? Don't kid like that, Ash says. But Iris confirms what Paul says is true. The explosions threw off the balance of this place. Well, what will happen to the Pokemon? Ash says. They will meet the same fate as this place, Paul answers. Without the electricity of Chargestone Cave, the electric Pokemon won't have the environment to sustain them. Is there anything we can do? Ash questions. But silence befalls the group. It looks hopeless. But Electivire then begins to glow, with the black orb separating from the Oni, returning it to its original form. The black orb levitates above the cave. Then, without warning, a cry can be heard, and a surge of energy from the black orb forces its way through the cave like none had seen before. Electricity then follows the surge. To the surprise of our group, the stones that had fallen begin to react, levitating back into their original position. The black orb then falls to the ground, now silent as its energy has been depleted. Paul then picks up the orb, tossing it into his bag. But Ash then begins to question Paul. How long have you had the orb, Paul? But Paul says nothing, turning and heading to the exit that leads to Mistroughton City. After a few more hours and Ash giving Paul the rundown, the group makes their way to the Pokemon Center. It's late at this point, and Ash is hounding Paul for any info on the black orb, relentlessly, to no avail. But Paul just keeps silent, only breaking it to thank Nurse Joy for her help in healing his Pokemon. As the group walk through the center, heading to their rooms for the night, they are met with the presence of an old man who recognizes the trio. Hey, weren't you the ones who saved Castelia City? The man questions. This catches the attention of everyone, even causing Ash to discontinue his never-ending questions for the moment. I'm sorry, do we know you? Iris asks. Oh, I apologize. How rude of me. My name is Professor Juniper. Confused, Ash questions this revelation, saying that they had already met Professor Juniper back in New Town. Oh, you met my daughter. I'm sorry. I should be more clear. My name is Cedric Juniper. Oh, Iris says. Well, that explains a lot. To answer your question, Yeah, we were in Castelia City, Ash states. I thought so, the old man says. My daughter mentioned that she had met you two. Ash and Paul, was it? And don't forget me, Iris says, with defense in her voice. Yes, of course. Wanting to speed this up, Paul cuts straight to the point. What do you want, old man? Paul, no need to be rude, Iris quips. But Cedric just rolls on with it. No, he's right. I don't even know you, so he has a right to be suspicious. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because there's been some strange things happening in Unova ever since the battle you had in Castelia City. Really ask questions? Like what? Paul, clearly annoyed, begins to walk away, but it stopped when Cedric mentions the weather in the region. Juniper Sr. states that the weather patterns have become very erratic as of late, almost like Mother Nature itself is angry with the people of Unova. Ash and Iris begin to say something, but Paul beats them to the punch. That's because it is, he says. Oh, please explain, Cedric inquires. It's very simple. The stupid people of Unova's past locked up your legendary Pokemon known as Landorus, Thundurus, and Tornadus. They were freed recently and have been wreaking havoc ever since. And if I may ask, how do you know all of this, Cedric questions. It's simple. We battled them on Milos Island some weeks back, Paul states, and they were not happy. If I had to guess, what we experienced was only a taste of their power. They will attack again when they are at full strength. My, this is interesting. My daughter said meeting you two would be worth it. Tell me, do you have any other info on the weather of the region? Ash begins to say something about the white and black orbs, but is swiftly shut down by Paul. No, old man. That's all we know. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a gym battle to prepare for. Oh, yes, of course, Juniper says. I'm sorry for keeping you. No problem, Ash, and Iris says, as Cedric walks back to his room in the center. Hey, Paul, why did you stop me from saying anything about the orbs? Ash questions. Ash, you can be truly dumb sometimes. En said, trust no one. Don't even speak about the orbs. And you just want to blab to anyone who will listen? Not while I'm around. This statement angers Ash, but surprisingly, Iris sides with Paul, saying there's too much at risk with both Team Rocket and Team Plasma out there. We have to be careful, she says. Yeah, I guess you're right, but you don't have to be so mean about it, Ash says, as the group readies for bed. The night then fades on as Paul falls into a deep sleep. He begins to dream of a place that he's never seen before, but it's not just him there. He's joined by Electivire, and above them, Zekrom floats in the sky, but it looks angry, like it intends to cause harm to Paul. In response, Paul orders Electivire to defend him, but it is unresponsive, almost like Paul is being punished for something. Before Zekrom's lightning can hit him, his vision cuts to a scene of a mountain. Behind him is the ocean from an aerial view. What is this place? I've never seen any landmarks like this on our maps that we've been traveling, but as Paul finishes his thought, suddenly the three Djinn of nature appear, readying for another battle. With a mere flick of their wrist, they knock Paul from the sky, sending him falling to the ground. Paul's heart begins to race as the ground inches closer. He begins to scream, closing his eyes, only to wake back up in his bed at the Pokemon Center in a panic. Looking around, he sees Iris and Ash, who both ask if he's okay. Breathing heavily, Paul says he's fine. He just needs more sleep. But Paul, Ash says, it's already morning. What? He questions him in disbelief. How? When? This isn't good. Paul is exhausted, and they have a gym battle today. The trio get dressed and head down for some food before they head to the gym. During the meal, Paul is having trouble focusing on eating, and he knows it. His thoughts are split between the gym battle he's nowhere near ready for and the dream, no nightmare he had last night. He's unable to focus on any of the tasks at hand. It finally comes time for them to head to the gym and challenge its leader. But when Iris and Ash stand up from the table, Paul declares he won't be joining them, saying he's going to stay behind for some training here at the center. Are you sure? Ash asks. Paul looks at him, telling him his mind is made up, so move on. Okay, Ash says, with him and Iris heading for the door. But once outside the door, Iris stops. Hey Ash, I'm gonna hang around here, she says, in case Paul needs some help. Are you sure, Iris? He did say he didn't want us to wait. Yeah, he may not want to admit it right now, but he needs someone close. I'll stay, so you can go battle for your next badge. Oh, and Ash, don't come back empty-handed, Iris says with a wink. You know it, he replies, as he and Pikachu head off to the gym. Ash and Pikachu eventually arrive at the gym. What they see is a sight of aerial brilliance. 3 flying-type Pokemon are bowing to the command of a trainer in the middle of the gym, as she demonstrates the abilities of them to the audience around. Ash and Pikachu can't help but be amazed. Then they hear the sound of this gym leader speak. She introduces herself as Skyla, the flying type master. She then thanks all of the audience for joining her today and says she would like to end today's aerial demonstration with an open challenge to anyone in the audience. Ash knows this is his chance, pushing his way to the front of the crowd. Unfortunately, it doesn't take much, as due to being packed into a tight group of people, Pikachu gets squished, firing a thunderbolt, frying half of the spectators and Ash in the process. This catches Skyla's attention, and she demands to know who is upstaging her. As she looks to the only individual standing where the crowd took the thunderbolt is Pikachu. Skyla, confused, questions who the owner of this electric nuisance is. Ash, laughing off the situation, stands up, claiming Pikachu as his Pokemon, thinking the situation isn't that serious. But he's in for a rude awakening. Skyla isn't amused, upset that Ash and his Pokemon took the attention off of her. Ash, thinking he's in the clear, begins to joke with Skyla, but is quickly shut down for being a spotlight-stealing clown. Thanks to you, now I can't send my audience home with the finale I promised, Skyla says. Now finally cluing into what's going on, Ash interrupts her, which aggravates Skyla even further. But he does get the point across that he's the challenger. He wanted to battle her. Now, Skyla's mood slightly changes. She has an opportunity to humiliate him and teach Ash a lesson all at once. Oh, and let's not forget the audience in their show. Skyla accepts Ash's challenge on one condition. He needs to use a flying type Pokemon. To this, Ash says no problem, sending out his Unpheasant. We can have an aerial battle if that's what you want. Oh, are you familiar with this type of battle? Skyla questions. Actually, I am, Ash says. I've battled several gym leaders in other regions in the same type of battle. Well then, Ash, how does a 2-on-2 battle sound to you? Better yet, let's make it a tag battle. A tag battle? Ash questions. Yeah. You said you battled in other regions. Why not have a tag battle like the trainers in the Hoenn region? Excited, Ash accepts this challenge. He wants to see what Skyla can do. Very well, Ash. My choices will be these two, as Skyla sends out Swanna and Mandibuzz, two Pokemon that Ash is unfamiliar with. Back over at the Pokemon Center, Iris is looking around. She seems to have lost Paul while telling Ash that she wasn't going with him. Luckily, it doesn't take long as she finds Paul on the battlefield behind the Pokemon Center. What she sees is a sight that has become standard with Paul around, training, and this session looks like an intense one. Iris approaches Paul, trying to get some response out of him. Hey Paul, can we talk? Iris asks. Without missing a beat, Paul tells her to make it quick. He's got training to do, as he orders Emboar and Electivire to lock up into a grapple to improve their physical capabilities. Well, I've noticed you've been distant as of late. More than normal, Iris says. I was just wondering why. An extended silence falls between the two. Iris thinking that Paul didn't hear the question, since she asked it when the two Pokemon clashed. She prepares to ask again, but as she opens her mouth, Paul finally begins to talk. It's been hard as of late, Paul says. Really? How so? Iris questions. This gets Paul to turn, giving the young Dragon Master his full attention. Ash. He's been growing with his Pokemon so much since we came to Unova. I fully acknowledge that Ash is a strong trainer and has the abilities that most trainers dream of. But what puzzles me is the way he does it. You have seen over the course of the last 8 months how I achieved the methods of my Pokemon strength through intense training. Ash seems to respond well to my methods and his Pokemon, growing stronger each time we train. Then there's me. When coming to Unova, I was presented with a situation that was a mirror image of what Ash had to face a few years earlier in Sinnoh. A Pokemon that was abandoned by its trainer. A Pokemon that may not respond to my training. You're referring to Emboar, aren't you? Iris says. Exactly, Paul responds. There are times when I felt like Emboar should have been Ash's Pokemon. Sometimes I feel like it wouldn't respond to my training style. This whole experience caused me to question the way I did things, to approach training like Ash, even if it wasn't a change that I made willingly. I shifted to his style, and it threw off my Pokemon because I couldn't change who I was in the moment. I was stuck in a limbo, unable to change my training style with the Pokemon. I see, Iris says. So is that why you kept the Black Orb from us? It is. I found myself on Milos Island with the same power that was just handed to Ash, but no idea of what to do with it. Unsure if it's even something I even wanted. Power, strength is always something I've earned on my own. I've never been handed it to me, nor have I wanted it handed to me. But Ash has been able to wield this power like it's something he's always had, and I'm unsure how to respond to it. So I'm going to do things the way I know best, on my own. Well, if I can offer you some insight from a person on the outside looking in, would you allow me, Paul? Fine, as long as it's actually insight, causing Iris to swallow intensely. I think you're on the right track. When compared to me, you and Ash are in a whole nother league. The type of trainers you two are, the power you possess, is something I've only seen in one other trainer. But you need to consider that if there's no struggle, then there is no growth. And I think that due to your struggle thus far, your growth will be far greater than Ash's. Then there's the matter of the orbs. I think the reason that you and Ash specifically were given them are due to the opposing natures of the orbs. Have you ever heard about the legend of the two dragons that were housed within them? No, I haven't, Paul says. Well, then let me enlighten you, Iris says, as she begins to tell the tale of Unova's ancient past. Over at the gym, the crowd is going wild as they egg Ash on, saying things like, "You have no chance. Pack it up, rookie." The crowd is now getting to Ash, and he angrily yells back, causing Skyla to laugh at him, losing control. "Well, Ash, do you accept my terms?" Turning back to the gym leader without hesitation, he yells yes, telling Unpheasant to stand by for battle. Ash and Skyla take their positions in the skyboxes with their respective flyers at their side. "Well, Ash, you're going to need a second Pokemon if you wish to battle us," Skyla teases. Usually, in a case like this, Ash would turn to Pikachu as the electric mouse readies for battle. But Ash tells it to stand down. "Sorry, buddy, I'm going to have you sit this one out." Confused, Pikachu charges back down and watches for Ash's choice. The crowd grows silent as Ash declares, "DIDNT, I choose you." The Otter Samurai emerges, taking its stance on the battlefield. Skyla is surprised. She was fully expecting Pikachu, but isn't going to complain as she sees this as a free win. "Well, Ash, not what I would have chosen, but you're the challenger, not me. Let's get this started," she says, as she orders an Aqua Ring and a Nasty Plot from her 2 Sky Dancers. Ash, not wanting to waste this free turn, orders a Quick Attack and an Aqua Jet that both land respectively. Unfortunately, this was a mute point, as Swanna is just healed up, and Mandibuzz is so tanky that it barely felt anything. It is at this point that Ash thinks he may have made an error in his battling choice, but there's no turning back now. Skyla taunts Ash, saying she expected better as she orders the next set of attacks in a Water and Dark Pulse. The 2 attacks combine, flooding the surrounding area to cover the maximum amount of space throughout the battlefield. The moves travel with a lightning pace, eventually finding their target, even with Ash ordering his Pokemon to dodge, being both their second set of eyes. This forces both Unpheasant and DIDNT into the ground as they are forced to regroup. And to add insult to injury, Swanna is now fully recovered from the damage it had taken. "Well, Ash, you really aren't the best at combo attacks. I thought you had the experience in these kind of battles." Saying nothing, Ash just looks on, thinking Skyla is right. His timing is off. He needs to turn things around as time is against him. Choosing to take a different route, Ash orders his next set of attacks focused on Mandibuzz with an Air Cutter and a Razor Shell. Unpheasant is able to attack from a distance, but DIDNT has to get in close. And this is where the true strategy of Skyla comes into the surface. Swanna intercepts DIDNT with an Acrobatics, while the Air Cutter collides with Mandibuzz. But again, the bird just takes it. This is when Ash clues in. Mandibuzz is the slower of the 2 mons, while Swanna is the speed of the team. This is going to make things difficult in the long run, as it seems the 2 can both take damage just as good as the other. But Ash has little time for his inner debate, as Skyla is on the attack again. This time, it's something new. Scold from Swanna and a Steel Wing from Mandibuzz. Ash orders another Air Cutter from Unpheasant, telling DIDNT to wait. Skyla is curious, but continues on the same path. The Air Cutter then collides with the Scold, breaking the attack, but one blade manages to make it through. This is where Ash's strategy comes to light, as he knew that Mandibuzz would head to DIDNT, as it couldn't keep up with Unpheasant. Meanwhile, Ash's Water Otter has been charging its newest move. In the air, the Air Cutter lands, hitting Mandibuzz in the back. It also seems to have landed with a little extra power, distracting it in the process. Skyla, wanting to prevent losing control of this battle, orders Swanna in with an Aerial Ace on DIDNT, but Ash orders his own Aerial Ace from Unpheasant that does intercept, causing damage to both. All the while, DIDNT takes advantage of this opening, firing its newest move, Ice Beam. The move itself is very weak. Ash's DIDNT is still in the early stage of learning it as part of Ash's promise to help it grow stronger. The beam lands just after the Air Cutter does, sending Mandibuzz into a tailspin. Stunned and having trouble pulling up from Skyla's commands, Ash orders another Razor Shell in hopes of ending one of her Pokemon, but the buzzer regains its bearings, pulling up with its feet barely grazing the ground. "Good try, Ash, but futile in the end," Skyla says, not wanting to admit that it was much closer than it appeared. "Yeah, but now your Mandibuzz is feeling it, and won't be able to last much longer," Ash quips back. However, Skyla just smiles. "You really thought it would be that easy? Mandibuzz, use Roost." The Vulture begins to glow in a healing aura, gaining back some of the stamina it lost. Great, Ash thinks. How am I supposed to end this if both Pokemon can heal mid-battle? Unpheasant is starting to tire, and DIDNT won't be able to fend off 2 air attackers. But then Ash notices something. Mandibuzz is moving slower than the beginning of the battle. Then, that means Ash smiles. "I think we can do this," Ash says, ordering Unpheasant to fly down and cover DIDNT while it rushes forward. Unpheasant is right on top, protecting it while it rushes in the direction heading toward Mandibuzz. Skyla sees Ash's target. She knows that Mandibuzz isn't ready for another dual attack, so she orders Swanna in with another Acrobatics to intercept. Ash knows that he can't let this hit, or it could be the end of Unpheasant, but one move won't be enough. Smiling, Ash orders a combo Aerial Ace Quick Attack to give the move the power it needs to rival Swanna's. But that's that's not all. The reason Unpheasant was covering DIDNT is because it was charging a Razor Cell that Ash orders on Swanna as well. Realizing her mistake, Skyla orders a Dark Pulse from Mandibuzz to provide support, but Ash is one step ahead, again ordering an Aqua Jet from DIDNT to outspeed the attack. This combo strikes Swanna with both of Ash's Pokemon. The damage from this is too much for Swanna and Aqua Ring to fend off. It was completely unguarded when taking the attacks, and this results in a knockout, but not without a casualty on Ash's side. As DIDNT lands from the aerial maneuver, the Dark Pulse hits Unpheasant, ending its duration in this battle. Darn, Ash says. I was hoping to avoid that. I see, Ash. Your plan was never Mandibuzz. It was Swanna all along. That was a smooth and deceitful approach. Yeah, it was a risk though. I was trying to avoid losing any Pokemon, but I guess you can't win them all, as both trainers recall their respective knockouts. With only one Pokemon each, the two trainers begin the final leg of this battle. Skyla ordering another Steel Wing. Ash counters with another move that he's been working on DIDNT with, its own Aerial Ace. The two moves collide, but it's clear that Mandibuzz is the stronger of the two, winning the encounter and pushing DIDNT to the floor of the gym, while Mandibuzz retreats to the safety of the air. DIDNT, stand up, Ash yells. It struggles to its feet, but Skyla wastes no time calling for another nasty plot to increase its special attack. DIDNT, this is your chance. You wanted to get stronger, and now it's up to you, Ash yells. If you lose, there's no one else. Let's show Skyla just how far you've come. Now what Ash speaks is the truth. DIDNT readies itself with a defensive style stance. That's it. Let's give her the challenge she never thought she would get. Skyla, however, is unimpressed, telling Ash that this battle, though interesting, will end the same way it started, with her on top, as she orders a Dark Pulse from the souped up bird. Ash in response orders an Ice Beam. DIDNT fires the move, but nothing comes of it. DIDNT is too tired to give it the focus needed for the undertrained move. Skyla smiles. It's over, Ash, as the Dark Pulse consumes DIDNT in pure shadows. DIDNT, Ash yells. The darkness fades to reveal DIDNT on the ground. Well, Ash, it seems that was the end. The resolve you have is great, but you and your DIDNT will have to come back for a rematch. Those words echo throughout DIDNT and Ash. The last time they had to do a rematch, they didn't get it. They never got the chance. This can't be happening again. As the ref begins to call Ash's loss, DIDNT begins to wrestle to its feet with a slight glow around it that only intensifies as it rises up. Ash smiles. No, Skyla. It seems you've underestimated our resolve. We won't go down. Not like this. Well, Ash, I'm going to have to teach you and your stubborn Mon the lesson one last time. Mandibuzz, use Steel Wing. It cries as its hardened wings begin to glow, looking to end DIDNT. Ash knows that this is their last shot, so he tells DIDNT to stay put so it doesn't use any energy that it has left. Skyla orders her bird to put all of its weight into the Steel Wing. It falls with full intention of crushing its opponent. As it nears, Ash tells DIDNT to ready its scallops, taking a stance as if it were to dance with fans. DIDNT readies itself as the bird makes contact with it. One shell is holding it back, but it's slowly losing its durability, with Ash telling DIDNT to hold on. They need to wait. Skyla orders Mandibuzz to push harder, which it does. DIDNT is beginning to lose its footing. Inching closer and closer, Mandibuzz is practically on top of it. Skyla doesn't understand why it's taking so long. Then it hits her. The glow. It was Torrent. As Ash says, now DIDNT, and it fires the other Razor Shell into Mandibuzz. The Torrent-powered Aqua Slash cuts into the bird with the ferocity of 1,000 swords, dropping it to the feet of DIDNT. The crowd erupts as the ref declares Ash the winner, stunning Skyla in the process. Wow, this kid has the spunk needed to do great things, she thinks to herself. Skyla then approaches Ash as he tends to DIDNT. Ash, you've shown that you're an ace Pokemon trainer. You proved that today by winning this, handing Ash the Jet Badge. Thanking the leader for it, Ash takes his prize and celebrates with his Pokemon. Ash then tells Skyla that he had a great time battling with her, but he needs to get to the Pokemon Center as he has some friends waiting and his Pokemon need to get checked up. Well, I'll join you, Skyla says, as I need the same. So after the gym clears out, the two set off, arriving at dusk. Ash sees Paul and Iris outside, running to greet them. So, did you get the badge? Iris questions. Ash flashes the badge while introducing the group to Skyla. Hey everyone, your friend Ash is quite the trainer. He managed to beat me, though the battle was really close, laughing with Ash. Oh, hey Skyla, by the way, this is Paul. He's gonna want to challenge you for your badge tomorrow, Ash says. This causes Skyla to discontinue her laughter. With a sigh, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to have a battle with your friend. This catches Paul's full attention, demanding to know why. Catching Skyla off guard, well, I'm sorry to say, but I have to take a flight to the eastern side of Unova in the morning to drop off some cargo. I won't be back for a few weeks, as I have other deliveries to make from there. I'm going to be gone for a month minimum, Skyla says. Well, I guess I won't get a battle from you then, Paul says, but It will give me a chance to train more. That's the spirit, Skylar says. You can always battle me when I come back. I'm sorry, but I can't wait that long, Paul says. Well, it's a shame. Ash said that you're a strong trainer. Maybe we'll get a chance to battle another time. As this conversation is going on, a broadcast on the TV advertising traveling in the Unova region comes on. When something catches the eye of Paul, that mountain, he thinks to himself, that's the same one from my dream. He then cuts off Skylar. Hey, you're a pilot, right? Do you know where that is? Paul points to the TV. Skylar takes a second. That looks like a place called Reversal Mountain. Is that in the western part of Unova? Paul asks with desperation in his voice. No, Skylar says. It's in the eastern part. The mountain in the western half is Twist Mountain. Yeah, don't you remember that, Paul? That's where we gotta go to return our items, Ash interjects. Paul just stares quietly at the TV. Well, I gotta head off, Skylar says. I have an early start in the morning. The group waves by as she departs for the gym. Later that night, they are all again sleeping in their beds when Paul begins to have the same dream from the prior night. Images of Reversal Mountain with the ruins of an ancient settlement. This time, though, Team Rocket is there as well. Paul wakes up once again in a sweat, but it's dawn. Looking out at the sunrise, Paul knows what he has to do. Grabbing his bag, he begins to pack quietly, changing his clothes. But this alerts Pikachu, waking it up as well. Paul looks at it, petting it on the head. Take care of Ash for me, he says, then leaves without another word. Paul takes one step outside of the Pokemon Center when he's met with Iris. Where are you off to, she says. At first, Paul says nothing, but when Iris tells him that she'll wake Ash, he blurts out, I'm going to catch a ride with Skylar. Paul tries to explain, but Iris says she already knows. She could tell by the look in his face last night. Reversal Mountain, was it? She questions. I don't know why, but I feel the orb. No, Zekrom is leading me there. The last 2 nights, I've had a dream, and in the last one, Team Rocket was there, so you know it can't be good. Iris thinks for a few seconds. Yeah, that does sound bad, she says. So, you'll let me go? Paul questions. Who am I to question the will of a legendary Pokemon, Iris says, grabbing her bag. Besides, I'm going with you. What? No, you need to stay here with Ash, Paul tells her. No, I don't. Either I'm going, or I will wake Ash up, and we all go together. Well, what about Ash, Paul asks. I have a feeling that he'll be just fine, Iris says. Now, let's go, or we'll miss Skylar. So with that, Paul, Iris, and Axew head to the airstrip of Mistralton City. A few hours later, Ash finally wakes up with Pikachu by his side, and at the foot of his bed is a note. Ash, Paul and I have taken a plane trip with Skylar. Paul has been very troubled as of late, and I feel he's going to need someone to lean on. But don't worry, let's meet again in 1 month's time in Absolute City. That's the site of the final gym in Unova. I'll make sure Paul is there as well. Your friend, Iris. Ash hangs his head, but smiles. Well, buddy, it looks like we're going to have to go on alone. Paul and Iris are off on their own adventure. Wiping the tears from his eyes, Ash says it'll be fine, because he knows that he'll see his friends again. In 1 short month, that means that Ash has a lot of work to do. He needs to get through Twist Mountain and to Icera City for his 7th badge. Then to the Ruins of White, where he must lay the White Orb to rest, as Zen said. But not to worry. With Pikachu, Infernape, and the rest of his Pokemon, Ash will get the job done. Ash and Pikachu get ready to check out of the Pokemon Center. He hears that to the north of the city, there is a tower that is very ancient. Ash wants to stop by, as he is told by Nurse Joy that if he rings the bell at the top, it is a sign of good luck. So he and Pikachu set out. It takes the new duo about a half a day to reach the tower, but Ash is in awe by its majesty. Remembering the words of Nurse Joy, Ash rushes into the tower. Upon his ascent, Ash realizes that this place is a safe haven for ghost types. Not wanting to trigger any of them, Ash and Pikachu do their best to remain respectful to the ones that have passed on. Upon getting to the top, Ash can see the giant bell of the tower. Walking slowly to it, Ash thinks about how he won't let Paul or any of the other rivals he's met show him up. This is the first step on the rest of his Unova journey. Ash begins to ring the bell, but on the first gong, Ash can hear a heartbeat. Then, with the second one, a more intense heartbeat rings throughout his being. The feeling is so intense that it forces Infernape out of its ball, as now the white orb is pulsating. Then it happens. Ash, Pikachu, and Infernape fade to a black scape. Both before them appears Reshiram in an ethereal form. What follows is visions that, at first, Ash is having trouble understanding. But as the visions replay, Ash begins to make out a familiar character. Him, Pikachu, Infernape, and the other one's called Team Plasma, and a place that appears to be a site of ancient ruins. That must be the Ruins of White. Is that what you're trying to tell us, Reshiram? A mighty cry echoes throughout the ethereal plane just before they fade back to the top of the tower. Pikachu rushes to the shoulder of Ash with Infernape holding the white orb. I know, buddy. I saw it too. If Paul is having visions like that, then I can see why he had to leave. I don't know what it was, but I feel like it's a warning. Things from this point are going to be dangerous as Ash and his Pokemon look out on the setting sun. Meanwhile, in eastern Unova, Skyla's plane finally lands in a place called Lentmas Town. Once Paul and Iris step off the plane, the reason they have come to this part of Unova makes itself known. Reversal Mount towers over the surrounding area. There, Paul points. I don't know what it is, but we need to go there. Iris, trusting Paul, tells him they should rest for the night at the Pokemon Center. They can set off at first light. Paul nods and they head off to the center. Meanwhile, somewhere deep on the mountain, Team Rocket are active. It appears they are searching for something. Jesse, James, and Meowth are all on separate parts, radioing in their results for their searches. Then, a reading in the area of James goes off. I think I found it, he yells into the radio. A familiar voice answers back over the comms. Giovanni. Good. I will be there very soon. As off in the distance, Boss Rocket flies in on the lead Team Rocket helicopter. And that's all we have for What If Ash and Paul Travel to Unova Part 10. How'd you guys feel about this part? What did you think of Electivire's evolution? I've come to call that form Electivire of Ideals. How did you guys feel about Ash's gym battle with Skyla and the fact that it was made a tag team battle? How do you feel about splitting the group at this point, with Ash going off to Twist Mountain and Paul going off to Reversal Mountain? And not only that, but Iris deciding to join Paul, leaving Ash all by himself. And what about these nightmares that Paul keeps having? What's the deal with them? And now that Ash is having the same visions too, where are they going to lead him? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, to sign off the only way we know how, is to thank the sponsors of the channel, the patrons: Silver Heart Soul, Robert, Vegito Gaming 78, Andrew McCartney, Holosiv, Julian Rodriguez, Ruben Watson, Lord Explosion Murder, Flyer 943, Shadow Dragon, Tavern Landlord, K McKnight, Kevin Atran, Maker YAG, Drax, Luke Franciscos, Dylan Silva, Fox King, Dalian Pochit, Warren E. Taylor, Plus Ultraman, and Mega. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.